The Minecraft 1.20 update is releasing very soon, and overall I am very excited for the update. Cherry and bamboo wood look great, archaeology is for the most part pretty fun, and the new armor trims are some really cool new collectibles. However, it's not all good. There is currently one feature in the update that I believe is flawed in a major way. That's not to say the rest of the update is perfect. I still think Trail Ruins, for example, could use a little bit more work. Sorry, I'm just not a big fan of getting 30 pieces of stained glass. No, the thing I want to talk about today has a much more serious concern, and before the update releases on June 7th, I want to go over what that problem is and how I would personally solve it. After all, I don't think pointing out an issue is very productive unless I have a solution for it. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also feel free, especially for this video, to comment if you have a better solution or if you think this isn't a problem at all. But with that said, what is the problem? Since you're watching this video, I assume you're at least a little experienced watching Minecraft videos here on YouTube. I personally like to watch a ton. What would I do without Dream's 37th Manhunt? One type of video I've seen popping up on my recommended a lot lately has to do with the fact that Minecraft is supposedly getting easier. Now in my opinion, that's a bit hard to judge. Yes, it's probably easier to get a full set of diamonds now than it would have been, say, 10 years ago, but in my opinion, getting full netherite is much harder than getting a full diamond set ever was. Minecraft has to appeal to a large audience, so making the game too hard would likely turn a lot of people away. I think Mojang's current approach of making harder optional content is really smart. 1.19 saw the addition of the Warden and the Ancient City. This is in my opinion the hardest aspect of the game, but it's also completely separate from everything else. You never need to go near one to beat the game, and it only acts as a way to get some good loot and a few exclusive items. So I think them leaning into adding more difficult side content is good, as inexperienced players can just ignore it and the rest can have a fun new challenge. That's why, in my opinion, I don't have a problem with Minecraft's current difficulty. I think the main progression of the game is good as is, and the side content is really where Mojang should be focusing on adding harder stuff to. That brings us to their latest attempt at making Minecraft a bit more difficult for experienced players, the netherite smithing template. Currently in 1.19, the way you obtain netherite armor or tools is by first making it out of diamond, collecting 4 pieces of ancient debris, crafting that into a netherite ingot, and then finally combining the piece of equipment with the ingot. I think this process, as it wasn't bad. Ancient debris is incredibly rare. It could take several hours to get the amount needed for a full set of armor and tools. That said though, since this is the most powerful armor, I'm not against them making it more difficult to obtain, as long as it's reasonable, which we'll get to in a bit. The netherite template, which is being added in 1.20, will now be a requirement for every single weapon or tool you wish to upgrade. The way you obtain this item will be through the game's bastions, where they have a 10% chance to spawn in any given bastion chest, besides the treasure bastion, which has a 100% chance. Now this may seem like it could be very annoying to obtain all the templates you need, but luckily it is possible to duplicate the template once you get one. It works the exact same way the new armor trims do. By putting it in the crafting table along with 7 diamonds and a piece of netherrack, you'll be able to get another. So now that we've laid out what this feature is, what's the problem with it? Well, since I'm far from the only person to cover this topic, I want to go over a few complaints that I think aren't justified, or at least are not really problems, before I get to my personal one. So let's take a look at what some other people think the problems with this item are. 1. Netherite didn't need to be made harder to get. While I understand why some people may feel this way, I don't exactly agree. It's clear that a lot of people have been wanting the game to get harder, and since netherite equipment is entirely optional, I think this is a good place to add some challenge. Now some people may think, well, why don't they just make a new armor set that's even better than netherite, like emerald armor? Well, first off, give up. They're never adding emerald armor. It's been over a decade. Stop asking for it. But really, netherite is already so powerful that having another set that's better than it would honestly just make the game seem even easier. Yes, this isn't the most elegant solution, but if this is how it were from the start, I don't think anyone would complain too much. This complaint comes off way more as someone being upset that it's changing. A complaint like this will always appear in some form whenever anything is updated to be more difficult. I think in this case, it's a necessary evil to satisfy those who have felt Minecraft isn't hard enough anymore. 2. Duplicating the netherite is too expensive. This is a complaint I've seen for both this template and the rest of the armor trims, so why not go ahead and cover why I disagree in both cases. First off, for the armor trims, they are an entirely cosmetic feature. If you don't want to use 7 diamonds to make your boots a little bit more drippy, you don't have to. I think them having a duplication method at all is fantastic. If you don't want to use diamonds, you could always keep searching for more of the templates and structures. Diamonds themselves have always been a bit lamer than it may initially appear. Besides diamond tools and armor, the only crafting recipes it was used in were the enchanting table and jukebox. Oh my god! What the hell? Once you had both those things, diamonds were basically pointless. In the late game, iron and gold are actually a much better resource as they have a large number of uses outside of the armor and tools. The armor trims using diamonds give the material a long needed new use, so I think this use of diamonds is good. I'm sure some people are upset by needing 7 diamonds, but to be honest, if you go strip mining for like 30 minutes, you could get what you need and probably more. In fact, I think making these require this amount of diamonds is great as it basically forces people to actually go mining. You could easily get diamond equipment from from villagers, but now mining has a much better use since I find getting raw diamonds to be much easier down in caves. So since I'm fine how this works on just the aesthetic armor trims, I'm obviously on board with the netherite template being difficult as well. This actually gives a practical upgrade, so requiring a large amount of resources is more than fair. Yes, this is quite expensive, but again, these are the best tools and armor in the game we're talking about. They should be expensive. Normally I craft 10 netherite items, full armor and tools plus a second pickaxe, which would mean that I would need 10 templates. That equates to 63 diamonds as you would need 9 duplicates, assuming you only got one from a chest. I personally think that's pretty fair for the upgrades you get. Again, this is another one that sort of comes off to me as being upset that it's changing. Had it been this way from the start, most would probably be more on board. But with those non-issues out of the way, what is my actual problem with this item? Seems like I'm pretty on board with them making netherite harder to obtain, which I am, but I think this approach is still flawed. While duplicating the template is more than fair, obtaining one in the first place is where I have to draw the line. Just like every other armor trim, this is tied to a structure, that being the bastion. Now I do want to say that unlike the duplication method, I think this shared approach doesn't work for both. First off, why do I think this still works for the trims? While I think these work as fantastic rewards for exploration, the structures in Minecraft have been desperately needing some better loot in my opinion, and these act as perfect solutions to that. Most structures now have an exclusive armor trim piece that will make players want to seek them out, so collecting them all is a lot of fun. The most important thing that separates these from the netherite template though is the fact that the armor trims are purely aesthetic. When the template is required to upgrade your gear though, this is where some problems really start to show. The first thing to consider is finding bastions at all can be quite tedious, and the fact that the template isn't even a guarantee is super annoying. Now again, that's not necessarily that bad, but it is really bad when it comes to multiplayer. Now I know you all in the Odyssey Central audience likely don't have any friends, but for those lucky few who do, these are more than likely going to be a nightmare for servers. If someone goes around the nether and takes all of the nearby templates, then that almost completely locks people out of netherite equipment. This is especially bad for public servers, as new players would have to try and go either thousands of blocks to even have a chance at a template, or somehow get one from someone who already has one. If that wasn't bad enough, this problem could be even worse for any server that doesn't start in the 1.20 update, and this goes for single player too. If you didn't have netherite by the time the update drops, good luck generating a new bastion. I just started a server with my friends a few weeks ago, and we've had to be on the grind to get netherite really quickly. Oh, also, I finally have a world to plan for these Minecraft videos instead of some random new survival world. Yippee! My server only has a few of my friends, but for servers that are much larger, I really think that locking netherite behind a structure like this is a bad idea. I'm sure that some of you may say that it's unrealistic to run low on bastions or that people could just look up the seed, but I disagree on both of those points. Bastions aren't the most common structure, and considering it's not even guaranteed to have a template, there's a good chance people won't be able to find any for themselves. Also for the seed, sometimes people won't have access to it if they're not the server owner. So yeah, I think them only putting this in bastions was a bad idea. But how would I personally solve this issue? There are a lot of ways to go about it, but the one that I think could easily address every issue I brought up would be Piglin Bartering. If you somehow didn't know, giving a piglin a piece of gold will have them randomly give you some items in return. These can range from pretty lame stuff like blackstone to some more helpful items like soul speed enchantment books. I have always felt as though that the bartering system leaned on being a bit disappointing though. Yes, it's great for speedruns and some other game modes like Skyblock, but in pure survival mode, you almost never need to do it. It's almost always way easier to get the resource you want without bartering, with one exception. Piglin Bartering is the only way to get the soul speed enchantment I mentioned before alongside bastions. This system, in my opinion, works incredibly well. While it's probably easier to find the enchantment in bastions, having the option to get it anywhere with piglins is great. It's their rarest trade though, only having a 1.09% chance of happening. It took me 185 gold ingots to get my soul speed book in this world. But I think we could take the soul speed example and apply it to the netherite template. Why not, alongside it appearing in bastions, make it an extremely rare barter from the piglin? Make it say half as likely as soul speed, that way people would still have the incentive to go look for bastions, but they also have the option to trade with a piglin if all the bastions have been looted. I think this is by far the best method they can implement to still keep the idea of the netherite template, while making it still a feasible item to get for those playing on big multiplayer servers. Now there is a small issue with this approach that I could see some people having, so let me go ahead and explain why I personally disagree. The problem I see is that it would make the process go back to basically not being too difficult, since players could theoretically just trade for all of the templates they need. Considering it took me 185 gold to get the soul speed book, and I'm suggesting this trade be even rarer, I don't think this is going to make the process of getting all the templates any easier. I see this more of just being a different option than having to go for a bastion. I get that they wanted to incentivize more exploration this update, but I think the armor trims already do a good enough job on their own. The Bastion also has the snout pattern already exclusive to it, so this barter system for the netherite templates wouldn't completely remove the desire to go for a Bastion. Heck, to even get enough gold for the trade to be likely, people would probably want to go to a Bastion anyway due to their large gold supply. I think the rarity of the barter is pretty important. It should definitely be the rarest one, but the exact number would need to be tested. But I think once that number is found, this would completely fix my problems with the netherite template. I'm sure others would still have the issues I mentioned before, but I think this one definitely needs to be addressed, hopefully in a small update following 1.20's release. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you all think the biggest problem with this update is actually the silence armor trim only appearing in 1% of ancient city chests? Let me know in the comments. Sorry for this shorter than normal video, but I really wanted to talk about this before the update came out. I'm curious to hear if any of you all have any other solutions to this as well, so feel free to comment them down below. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time. I almost forgot to say Mario this video. Mario!